Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast, built for real estate professionals that want to work less, earn more, and make an impact in their community. For information on how you can become part of the estate professionals community, visit probatemastery.com.
Maybe that's the first question out of the book. How do you cover more counties than you're able to get to geographically?
You know, this outside the four major ones, there's not a whole lot of probate cases because they do a filter to the courts here in the big counties. Most of them do. So the filings are in like Parker County, Wise County. But you see most of the cases being settled in the bigger counties. It's like an overflow, I guess. So wherever the house is, I mean, I'm just the furthest I've went this year's 2.5 hours. I just went to Waco to look at a property. So I'm going to expand to, next year, I think I'm going to expand to San Antonio and Houston and just find someone to go on appointments for me there.
Yep. I'm
going to get licensed in Oklahoma and just grow the probate niche. The market's been tough this year. We've closed 31 actual probates. So it's last year I did 44. But we have 93 people in our follow-up that we're talking to that have not sold. So it's either going to be a huge deal next year or maybe tomorrow they all call me and say they want to sell.
Yeah. Is it just market constraints? Is that your perspective, or is there something, obviously people continue to die at the same rate, right? So, that doesn't change.
Yeah. It's just, I wish I had a better closing scenario where I could tell if they're going to use me or not, but those 93 people have not moved or sold their property. So it's like, usually if you leave a house without a contract signed, you got a 50% chance of not probably getting it under contract. This year, just people were not moving as much as they were last year, or selling, at least in my little world. Don't hold yourself back. We're spending more money on this year. I did my numbers for filed taxes. So I spent $17,000 marketing to attorneys this year, just so far. I need to add up the mail too, so it's probably going to be closer to. So I'm making a big splash with the attorney marketing. Hopefully that's going to pan out over the next 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. What does that look like? Yeah, what is that $17K actually spent on? What are some of the line items?
Events. So every time they send me an email to sponsor something, it's usually a table sponsor. I get my photo in there. They do what is it called? Just when they give a class, they hey, here's a sponsor. So there's 2 lunches a week normally for probate estates. There's a major lunch every month at $600. And then they do special events like for Halloween. They just did one for Halloween. They did one for a guy that had cancer, one attorney. And then the big one is Bench Bar in April. I'm going to be the main sponsor in that one for April. I'm going to buy 3 tables next year. I did 1 table this year. And I learned a lot about I want to be all over the hotel next time with my banners. I've already started negotiating with them to have retractable banners everywhere the attorneys go, every room. So I'm just going to pay for it, just so they just get to know the brand. I've done $90,000 this year in attorney referrals, so it pays for it. It's almost 4x return this year. Not bad. I think it's totally worth it. I've met some really good people. You get to know that they're really fun people to be around. They really count on you when they actually count on you. We just saved a guy from foreclosure. He was in probate for 3 years. Mother and dad passed away within 3 months. He's one of those guys who just procrastinated, and then he got the house in his he got the title to the house, and he waited up until 2 days before foreclosure to even notify the attorney. So he called us. We paid the reinstatement fee, took it off the block, and sold it in two weeks. And the attorney's happy because they got their full probate pay out of it.
Hey, David, how much of your $17,000 spend came from the attorney event that you thought was estate and probate but was litigation?
Oh, that would probably be worth about $2,500,
Yeah.
$3,000.
Have you
That
gotten
was
any business from the litigation attorneys?
No, that was the wrong room.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to be in front of attorneys. So, but they're all just good people. The one thing I'm learning about attorneys is that they refer you to other attorneys. It's not that you need to go after one attorney because that one attorney may not give you a referral, but they're all buddies, either divorce, family law, civil, judges. I met so many judges. There's one judge that he swears to me that I have all these billboards around town. It's just the funniest thing. But it's that Mark Spain guy. So he just confused me with Mark Spain, which is great. He's put me on receivership list. I haven't got one yet, but at least I'm on the list. I'm just making my way, cracking into the attorney world, and I love it. Just this week, I have the Tarrant County Board is doing a Marine Corps thing tomorrow for lunch. There's going to be 8 judges there. It's sponsored by the bar. They're doing their big lunch this week on Thursday, so back-to-back 2 days in a row. And then they're doing a volunteer thing on Saturday for some gardening thing. So 3 times this week, I get to see at least 20 attorneys. It's great, and that's costing me under $1,000 this week. I mean, it seems like a lot of money, but it really isn't. The influence I'm getting. Chad was right. Bruce is right. If you look at the buckets of your business, the attorneys are going to be a major bucket of getting you referrals. And I like that saying 20 is plenty. So I'm just trying to get 20 attorneys that really love me. That gives me 1 referral a month. And then you have your Bruce's calling system. I'm getting signed up for that. So, because I don't like making phone calls anymore. And then I got my mail system. We're sending 1,200. I've switched the data provider. I don't know what Bruce wants me to say, but I switched to what he's using for that system that he's going to sell you or get you on. So
Bruce is about to sell you. No,
not sell you, but I mean, it's the more leverage you can have at this, you're going to get more deals. So I'm ramping up to hopefully next year I'll do 100 probates, or in 2027 I'm going to try to master 100 closed probates in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal.
Beautiful.
That's great. When did you get started in that? How long have you been doing it?
Full time, like ignoring all their deals, probably 2 years now. I mean, I'll still take my buddy referrals and stuff like that, listings, but my business is dominated by the attorney probate world now.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah.
David, you can keep going. That's not a problem. Not interrupting. Making it my job easy today.
Yeah, just ask me questions and I'll answer. I'm be honest with you. I'm figuring this out every day. I've got a really good letter system in place. Bruce is going to help me with phone calls. I got the attorney influence in place. I'm working with viral marketing so that I'm coached on doing videos every week now. So what I like to see is the way I'm going to get to 100 deals is hopefully Bruce will produce 20 appointments for me, or 80 appointments, 20 deals. The letters will give me 20 deals, and then attorneys 20 deals, so that's 60. My videos 20 deals, retargeting videos, whatever. What else is there? So mail, calls, attorneys. Yeah, and I don't know what the other bucket is. I can't remember, I think of it, but I just got a deal from a guy that is an out of state PR. And the only reason he went with me is because he could find me everywhere on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So work on that. I mean, you're not going to have that overnight, but and my communication. He wrote in an email that congratulations, the family decided to work with you because we see you making videos and you specialize in this world or probate, and that you've been upfront with us with the numbers and what you plan to do with the house. Boom.
So speaking of it doesn't happen overnight. The video side of it doesn't happen overnight. I will tell you guys that the video side of it, pieces of the video side of it can happen overnight. So this is not a probate story. I'm not talking about the whole video side of things, but parts of it. Search phrases. A story completely unrelated to probate. 10 years ago, moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'd been running radio ads in Virginia for several years before that. I knew the power of big media, highly targeted radio advertising, and I dropped into Raleigh and I ran radio ads totally unrelated to probate. Good ads. I was spending $5,000-$6,000 a month on 3 ad spots per week, but they were highly targeted, and 60-second reads. And I knew that they would work. And I knew that it took 4 months to start getting traction, just like almost anything else that you guys do. It's going to take 4 or 5 months to start getting some traction. So I was prepared for that. What I was not prepared for is the first lead that actually got a hold of me. Phone rings one day. I'm in the office. I answer. This lady says, "Are you Bruce Hill?" "Yep." "You the Bruce Hill that runs the radio ad?" "Yep." She said, "I just want to let you know I would never use you to sell my house. Why would you even call and say this to me? Okay. What's the point of calling and saying this?" She said, "I've been trying to reach you for months now to sell my house, and you didn't have the decency to call me back." I had no clue what she was talking about. No clue. I said, "What number are you calling?" And she gave me a number that wasn't my number. So I Googled the number, and it belonged to Bruce Hill, realtor in Raleigh, North Carolina, but it wasn't me. So I Googled Bruce Hill, realtor in Raleigh, North Carolina, and a whole page of Google placement, page and video placement showed up, none of which were mine. And I discovered the hard way that there was somebody else named Bruce Hill selling real estate in Raleigh, North Carolina. Same age. Both of us came from Virginia. Same middle initial. Everything. Okay. If you'd seen us at an event and you Googled, you would have seen him and been like, "Yeah, that looks like the guy." It oddly, and oddly similar. Okay. But I didn't know that he was out there. And I'd been running ads that who knows how many people had called him. Who knows? Because they didn't call the number in my ad. They went and Googled, "Who's this guy that I've been hearing his ad? Let's Google this guy and see if he's legit." Google him. Who shows up? The wrong one. All right. So I had the benefit at this point of knowing that he existed. I think that he had the problem of not knowing that I existed. So I went to work owning page 1 of Google. And within about a month, I owned page 1 of Google. If you looked up Bruce Hill Realtor, didn't even have to put Raleigh in there, I was top of Google. It was very hard for me to own Bruce Hill as a whole because there's a guy that sells yachts and there's a couple of football players. So that was hard to own that. But I got onto page 1 of Google just for my name with intense focus. So my name became the search phrase. Well, all you guys have to do is do the same thing with a search phrase that someone might look at in probate and make a goal of, I want to own this phrase in a month. So what's that mean? How to find a realtor that specializes in probate. By the way, not a good search phrase. I'm just giving you an example. Not a good search phrase. People don't look for that. But let's just use that as an example. Okay, how to find a realtor that specializes in probate in your state, Washington State, whatever. Okay. So you go out and you do 5 videos that are all how to find a realtor that specializes in probate in Washington State. You turn the outlines of those videos into 5 blogs. You then go and you put those blogs on several different platforms. You link your video on several different pages. And within a month, you search for that in your area and you're going to be pretty much owning that. I'm not saying no one else will show up, but if you own 4 or 5 of the top search spots, you're going to get the business. You've got a great chance if they're Googling of getting the business. Now I know AI is kind of taking over a little bit right now, so I'm not telling you all that you have to go all in on Google search placement. Um, but AI is pulling from the most prevalent online searches as well. So I would encourage you guys to try to own specific segments of your niche. Specific segments. How much does probate cost in my market? That would be a good one. Okay. Do multiple pieces of content. Make sure there's video, make sure there's blogs. Some of you guys hate doing content. You don't have to do this to get business. Like David said, goal of 20 deals a year in this segment, 20 deals a year in another, 20 deals a year in another. And if you do the content route, you can get to the point where you're getting deals every month. And if you want to own the whole thing where no matter what they search for, you show up, that'll take time. But it doesn't take that much time to own one little phrase if you focus on it.
That's right. And it's all about being searchable. So especially after the appointment, I think it's equally important that you're searchable and findable prior to them meeting you, but definitely after the appointment and they're questioning if they should take your offer or somebody else's. I think it's highly important that you show up or able to send them some email links or tell them where to go to find more information. It's all helpful. And I want my business to be 100%. It is 100% probate, but I want every 36 deals in probate is probably $500,000 in income. So if you're going to do 36 probates, you're going to make a very, very good income, because most 80% of the houses have an issue that you're going to have to solve, and you get paid good for it. Right now, I'm working with 3 sisters that have let the taxes go delinquent. They never dealt with their dad's will, so we're actually paying to process that probate. And then we're buying the house and land for a lot cheaper than what you normally pay for, because we're guiding them through the whole process. So there's a lot more money outbound, but there's a lot of reward as well.
Guys, I want to give a quick shout out to someone. Phil, I have no idea if you're listening or anything right now. I didn't tell you that I was going to do this, but I've had a couple of questions recently about probate bonds, and an insurance provider in the area and certified probate expert in our probate mastery community agent is Phil Pavarini. Phil, if I totally butchered your last name, you got to correct me. And he's on here, the little square that has a QR code. If you're ever in a situation where your clients need a probate bond, I recommend going to Phil. I gave your name out a couple of times this week to agents in the community. So it's an often overlooked thing in this. We're out there trying to find vendors that do everything else, cut grass and do estate sales and clean out houses and winterize properties and things like that. And all the while our clients are trying to figure out how to get a probate bond. Okay, so if you're going to offer all the solutions, including connections to the bond insurance that they need, if they need it. We'll have a special segment one of these days where we can talk to you guys about that. Hey, there's Phil. Yeah.
How are you? I was on a call, and I appreciate you mentioning me. I just got off the call, and yeah, thank you. How are you?
Yeah. Awesome. So how often do families going through probate? I know it depends by state, but how often do you think that they run into issues where they need a bond?
Well, especially when you're dealing with property, a lot of states, they're not really going to need the bond unless they're selling or transferring that property out of the family.
Hmm.
So, once it gets to anyone here, I'm sure you're selling, it's a transaction, and a lot of states would require that bond. I'm most familiar with Ohio. I do nationwide bonds now, but in Ohio, it's normally twice the value of the whatever the sale amount is of that property.
Yep. Why is that?
Well, in Ohio, that's just part of the Ohio Revised Code, and a lot of states do require double whatever the value of the estate is.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yep.
yeah, certain states don't require double, and the price is actually it's almost half. So you're not really paying double. It's just it's worked into the pricing.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of folks here probably don't know anything about probate bond. So if you've got time and Phil had no clue that I was going to do this, I just saw your probatecourtbond.com square up there, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna see if I can get Phil. So if you don't have time or not ready to go into this, tell me.
No, that's just fine. I appreciate the email reminders, and when I'm sitting in front of a computer, I try just to log in and I kind of work while I'm logged in here. But
Yeah.
yeah, probate bonds is really a little bit of an unusual area. A lot of insurance agents they do all sorts of different things, and it's probably primarily what I do. 90% of the time is probate. So, if a lot of times I think that you're going to be involved in a court case, and I don't know at what point you become involved with it, but that court is going to order the bond amount for that property only after you're ready to sell it.
Hmm.
So at least in Ohio, that's usually how it works. You're not getting that bond amount. Some of the things we run into, the biggest things are credit. So whoever the fiduciary is for that particular estate, maybe they qualify. I just every day it seems like we have one. Somebody will call and they'll want a minimum bond, not based on the property value, and then they have a sale. They get the contract and they're ready to sell. They call me up in a panic. Hey, we're closing on Friday. The judge just ordered this higher bond, and they come back and they have a 500 credit score. Well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back to court and get somebody else appointed for that most of the time, at
Mm.
least in Ohio. So what we like to do and we offer to attorneys when you first start a probate case, fill out one of our applications and we can submit it for kind of a pre-approval. So we get an idea of what that person's credit and financial background are, and then there's no obligation to purchase that from us, but then at least the attorney and the realtor, or whoever's involved, they know that person's not going to have to be changed midstream and clog up the what's going on.
Yep. Great excuse for you guys if you're looking to, if you're having conversations with someone in probate and the possibility of selling comes up. Ask them if they have a bond. Great excuse to connect with Phil. Even better excuse to call the attorney. Even better excuse. If you don't know the attorney on the other end, call and go, hey, I've been talking with your client. We're looking at the possibility of needing to sell the real estate. And I was curious if you think that they're going to need a probate bond if they were going to do it. Okay. For me, it's not necessarily to get the answer because I kind of already know the answer. They're probably going to need a bond. Okay. It's the excuse to get in front of the attorney and start that attorney conversation, that relationship. And then, of course, go to Phil and get that pre-qualification or whatever it was that you called it, Phil, right?
Yeah, we offer that. As long as we have that application signed by the client, we can do the pre-authorization on the credit. Another thing to mention to you about regarding bonds and in general, the longer I've been doing probate, the more I really encourage folks to consider professional fiduciaries or third parties that are not family members at all. And a lot of folks they just don't want to give up that whatever that state pays to do it. A lot
Hmm.
of places pay the fiduciary a percentage, and it's just so much worth it just to get a third party is qualified, take out any that takes out the emotions and all that stuff. So just kind of related to bonds, and we suggest that often. Um, when people don't qualify for the bond, but it's better if you even consider that before.
Mhm. So how much are probate bonds? So we know how much they need to take out. What's a typical bond price? Does it follow their credit score at all, or is it a certain amount for every $1,000 of value? How does that work?
Sure. Well, a lot of folks are familiar with bail bonds, and we used to do bail bonds a long time ago, which are 10% across the board. And sometimes folks call us and they're a little confused about that, or they're freaked out because they need a $100,000 bond, or they think it's going to be a lot of money, and it's not. Probate starts at most states start at $100 for either a 20 or 40,000 bond, depending on the state, and it goes up from there. We work with probably about 2 dozen bonding companies. We have about a half dozen in-house, and then we work with several brokers.
Hmm.
So when we're talking about pricing, generally speaking, if somebody doesn't qualify for the lowest price, they're not going to qualify for the highest price. So it's, your credit standards are going to be about the same across the board, unless we go to a brokered or a surplus lines bond. And then it becomes so expensive that I'd rather you get a professional fiduciary than
Hmm.
pay for the brokered bond. It'd
Yeah.
be less expensive. But yeah, pricing is and it's always paid by the estate. The fiduciary might have to advance it sometimes, but ultimately the bonding fees all come from the estate.
Hmm. Yep. And so go into why a family would need a bond. So what's so important about one? Why is it
Well,
required?
the and a lot of times folks don't fully understand the scope of a bond and what it protects. Just this morning, I had a call. Somebody needed a 600,000 bond with no attorney, and they said, "Well, we have three siblings. We all agree." And yeah, I don't know of any company that's going to write that size of bond for somebody without prior probate experience. So, we might be able to get that if they were a CPA, or maybe they handled a few other estates, or occupational, educational, some other uh, financial or business experience. Sometimes we can get away without an attorney, but most of the time that's one of the biggest issues.
What does it do though? What does it protect? Is it there if you screw over your other heirs?
Well, it is. The bond is going to protect all of the heirs, beneficiaries, and creditors. And that third one is what trips up a lot of folks. Like the folks that called me this morning, they said, we're three siblings and we agree. Well, you don't have an attorney. What happens if you don't properly notify or publish, or, what happens if there's a creditor out there that should have been paid, but you've already dispersed all the money?
Hmm.
Or sometimes there's taxes involved. You disperse something early, you write your brother a check, and now all of a sudden you figure out there's some taxes owed somewhere, and all those things can be ordered out of the bond. So what happens is um, the court is going to order that bond. Somebody's going to go to the court and say, hey, we should have got paid, whether it's another beneficiary or heir or creditor, and the court is going to order that bond to be paid. And the bonding company is, as soon as they validate that order, they're going to immediately pay that, and then they go back after the fiduciary to collect that money. But people don't go out and get bonds, probate bonds, because they want to. The only time they get them is when a court requires it or the law requires it.
Hmm.
So, um, for instance, let's say here's a hypothetical example. Let's say there's three siblings and there was no bond required. Even if you went and got a bond, it's not going to protect anything because it's not required. So you can't have one of those three siblings say, well, there's no bond required, but I want you to go get one. The only way that bond would be valid is if they also got the court order to require the bond. So, that's another issue, is it's not going to protect anyone unless the court is ordering it or
Yep.
requiring it.
Yep. Good stuff. Hey guys, I'm butting in here with a quick ask. If you're getting value out of this coaching today, I want to invite you to check out my Probate Mastery trainings over at www.probatemastery.com. Probate Mastery is for you if you're an agent or an investor that wants to work with motivated sellers that have inherited real estate that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. These sellers are more appreciative willing to trust your expertise, and less likely to nickel and dime you over commission or price. Why is that? They're often in the middle of a complex probate or an estate administration process, and this means that real estate is very often a burden on them, and they simply need the help. Inside of Probate Mastery, I teach you exactly where to source your leads, how to establish value, and offer your service in a way that quickly makes you, as the professional, your market's expert in the probate space. If you want to know a little bit more, go over to www.probatemastery.com. Hope to see you guys inside of the community. Thanks. Do you guys have any other bond questions? Probate bonds are one of those things that most of the time we completely overlook. We don't really think about it. A lot of folks that I talk to don't even know what one is and what it protects, who it protects. So this is kind of your chance. We've got a probate bond expert here and provider that can answer questions if you guys have them.
I have a question. Do you do bonds in Georgia?
Yes,
Okay.
and I am personally licensed in Georgia now as well, so, sure.
Okay, wonderful. I got your contact information. Thank you.
Absolutely, and just so folks know, we recently published a couple of probate bond books, and they're available on Amazon or on our website, and we can customize those for you for anyone in quantities as small as one. So if anybody wants to get your realtor logo on these books, or we have ad space that we could talk about, or you can just put your logo on the front of them, or whatever the case is, and we basically sell them at cost to you. So there's no minimum order or logo fee or none of that. If you want to book with your logo, it's like $10 or $15 with shipping, and we can customize those.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good stuff. So, yeah, I realized that we never did this. Just in case anyone here is new, this has been a little bit of an unusual call. This is not the normal format. First off, when I went into my master Zoom account earlier, right at 2 o'clock, it's 2 o'clock Eastern time right now. So when I went in to open this call, the event was gone. I don't know if anyone else had a hard time finding the link, but the link was gone. I don't know where it went. I don't know if it timed out. I couldn't renew it. So fortunately, my team had already been in here and started the call, so I was frantically trying to get in. In the meantime, David was gracious enough to start taking some questions and talking about his system and results. So normally I would come in here if you're brand new, and I see most of you guys are familiar faces, but if you are brand new, I'd come in and I'd start by saying this is the Estate Professionals Mastermind. We put this on YouTube under Probate Mastery every single week. We also put this over under Estate Professionals Mastermind on the podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to podcasts while you drive. It's kind of your chance to ask questions. We do a little bit of what we're doing here. So if anyone does have a question that's about bonds or about David's system or my system or probate in general, pop your hand up. We'll take your questions.
Bruce, I got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
We spoke on the phone a couple of weeks ago.
There you go. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, about that new law in North Carolina. Did you ever speak to any of your contacts on that?
They were my real estate attorney said he was going to read it. He also had said at the time that he didn't think that it would necessarily affect direct buyers, but he said, I'm not going to give that legal opinion until I've read the law. And he hadn't read it, and then I went out of town to Virginia to tear up flooring in my house up there and forgot to get back to you. So in North Carolina, guys, and most of you all are not in North Carolina, so I'll keep this relatively brief. We just had a House bill that passed that basically makes it where novations, wholesales, wholetail, anything creative, subject to require a real estate license to even be able to offer. I've seen some real estate lawyers that are connected to my firm that have kind of put opinions out on that it's mostly related to them and not the person that's planning on personally buying. I'm not going to put my neck out there yet and say, hey, Mike, you're safe to make your calls. I'm not going to quite do that yet. But I think you're safe to make your calls. Okay. I need to check with my attorney now that I'm back in town and see if he's read the law yet and can confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you would, get back with me on that because I'm kind of on hold. I don't want to, spend a night in jail or something.
No, we don't want that. No, definitely not. All right, cool. Hey, David.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
I have
Cordero.
I
And then Pinelli, you can chime in.
have a question for you. So, I have a situation where we have 4 heirs and 3 of them want to sell their portion. Have you ever dealt with a partition sale?
No.
Okay.
I wish I could say I had. Has anyone dealt with a partition sale? I haven't. So what?
What's the difference? It's just in the courts. They're making you part of the estate, so they're forcing you to sell it. There's probably an order to do it.
Yeah, correct. So my understanding, and I did speak with an attorney on this, he said that partition sales are guaranteed. So, but it's just about the time that it takes. So basically, if 3 people want to sell and they own the property, they can have what's called a partition sale and just force the court to sell it. And but I'm just not sure about the timelines. I was told that it could take up to a year, 18 months or something. I'm just not sure if anyone ever walked through that process before.
Well, you're going to have to get a court order to do the partition, and then they're going to assign a receiver to do that. In my area, the judges are going with their wives or their somebody they know right now. So it's hard. I'm on the list, but it's hard to get those deals. If you could work outside the courts, if they want to go and sign and divest from the property, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
Just pay them off.
deal outside. Yeah, try to
A
just
family member that doesn't want to sell, does he know that a partition sale is probably going to be ordered?
Yeah, so they've already papers have already been sent to them from their attorney saying that the other parties want to sell. And so it's 3 kids and an aunt, and the aunt's kids are living in the house. The aunt's kids are in the house, and she owns 1/4 of the property. So the aunt and the aunt's kids have been made aware that the other 3 want to sell, and they didn't respond. So they said, well, we want to sell our 3 portion, our 75%, and just wipe our hands clean of this.
David, just go ahead and get someone to give you the cash or get the cash and pay them off.
Yeah.
And get the deeds in your name and sit
Okay.
them out. Wait them out. 'Cause eventually
David
you'll
Pinnell, expand.
Yeah.
Expand.
Well, we're doing that right now with 3 sisters. I'm actually paying 2 of the sisters off, and I'll wait. I'll pay the taxes, and I got control of the tenant. I don't have control. I'll just take the rent money, and I'll just wait for the person to, over time, it's just going to get less and less that I'm going to offer them for their property. If you own 75% of a piece of property, come on now, do it every day. That's
Well,
where
you
this
can
is actually. This is
force-
actually sorry, Bruce, but this is actually where probate's leading me, is all the really distressed titles, and you get really comfortable with that. And I couldn't tell you I was comfortable with that 3 years ago. I'll buy a partial title now with some investors, and we'll just sit it out, because eventually you're going to get that property really cheap. That's not the point of. Of course, you want a good deal or investment. Not every deal and probate's going to be where you could benefit. You're actually We just saved that one for foreclosure. He's going to walk away from $60,000. He got a check 2 weeks ago for that. So I mean, this world is amazing. The deals that you come across with the things that you could do for saving people's titles too. It's really cool.
Yep.
And the knowledge you
value
gain.
of the house.
What's that?
What's the value of the property?
Fixed up about $1 million.
Okay.
And in disrepair about $750.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, yeah.
And
Yep.
then they're offering 107 a quarter. So about 325 to 350, about 350 sell.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yep.
Got it. I probably have someone to introduce you to if you don't want to take the property on, like David Pinnell just mentioned. I
Sure.
probably have someone to introduce you to that would.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I already have the attorney lined up. I spoke with him at length. He says those are guaranteed in Hawaii. 100%. It's money in the bank. Like they will close. It's just people don't want to kick out their aunt and they don't want to fight with their cousins. And
Yeah.
they'd rather just not deal with that and let someone else deal with it.
Mm-hmm. So they're willing to basically waive half of the house's value to be done with it.
Correct.
Yeah. I
Because-
can't blame
because-
them.
Yeah, it could take a whole year and then it's a family
Mm-hmm.
blow up and they just
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that mess. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it really is kind of an advanced deal. Like I know investors that won't touch them. Like even though because they don't understand the process of the partition sale. They don't understand it. They don't know if it's guaranteed. They don't want to do the due diligence. So a lot of people just won't touch these at any price.
Yeah.
It's just unfamiliar. Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I'd done one before, but yeah, it's good. Good. You'll have to come back and tell us how it goes. I'll introduce you. I can't remember the guy's name, but he does messy things like this all the time. A lot of times with businesses, where they'll go in and they'll buy something that's going to cost money and time to clean up, knowing that they're going to wait a couple of years for their payday. But when it comes around, it's really good, and they'll clean up issues like that, clean up titles, so like deal with their partition sale, things like that, and especially where businesses are involved, even more so where businesses are involved in the probate.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Any other comments or questions? So, let's see from Saul. Pops a question in here. Guys, I don't look at chatted in questions that consistently. I try to. I encourage you guys to raise your hand or chime in. I try to see everybody's questions, but sometimes I'll be engaged and I just oversee if you chat a question in. So, what does a typical scenario for a partial buyout look like? So I think David's scenario is pretty typical. So family is sitting on a property that's valued at about $750 or so if it's not in great shape. If it's not in great shape, they don't want to deal with kicking out their family members and creating that drama or waiting the year and a half, 2 years that it might take. So instead of asking for $750, they're asking for $350. Okay. So I probably wouldn't touch it personally if I wasn't getting a 50% discount on the value of the house. That's just me, because your money is going to be tied up for quite a while with no return. And so you need that 50%, maybe even more of a discount than that.
Yeah, because just on a side note, so you're looking at like 350, and if they use hard money, by the time it's all said and done, it'll be like 405. If they do the attorney, it's another 420. And let's say the court forces a sale as is. So then they got to sell it as is. So then it's 745 or seven. You're going to sell it at 745. Then you have a 40K realtor fee. So now you're already up to, what are you at, 460-ish or something like that.
Mhm.
And then so then by the time you sell it, you're only, you're about 160 something thousand profit.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so it's a great ROI because you're only putting in, let's say you put in 90,000 and you get 140 to 160 back. Well, that's great. You just made 100 and something percent on your money, but then you have to be comfortable handling the limbo of that for a
Mhm.
whole year.
So Saul's follow-up question is interesting. Could the partial owner potentially cloud the title, i.e., get liens against the property? Something to think about. Normally any work or liens that could go attach the property normally um, uh, can't attach to the property if there's other owners involved, but that's, we all know that sometimes liens happen even if other owners aren't involved. So it's something to consider. Normally anyone that would lien a property, whatever event would cause them to lien it, then I believe that there's some laws that the other owners need to be involved. But it doesn't mean that it can't create some problems down the road if they were to go out and get work done on the house and that contractor doesn't know that there's other owners or doesn't care that there's other owners. It doesn't mean that. So you gotta get enough of a discount on something like this to make the fight worth it.
That's correct.
I'm not sure 110,000 would be enough of a discount. Like 110,000 of profit? No, I wouldn't do it for that. If there was 350,000 profit, for sure.
That's a big number too. So
Yeah. Yep.
maybe they could get half of what they're looking for up front, and then they help you in the background to get the other deal part closed. There's got to be, that's a big number. That's a big number on a deal. I don't mind doing them on these little 30,000 or under $100,000 deals, but that's a big number for that one, David.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, it could be, you might make 300,000. If worst
Yeah.
case scenario, you're 100 and something, but you have to be conservative on the results of that.
You do need to be conservative and dealing with the risk and the wait time on a partition. I probably wouldn't do it for under 2. I just personally, this just me, and I have pretty good risk tolerance, but I don't think I'd want worst case scenario to be 200K, because if they end up getting the property liened, which shouldn't happen, but if they do, or it's in worse shape than we thought about, I don't want a big surprise that takes that 100,000 to zero or negative. A big surprise on a $200,000 deal is still leaves me with a little bit. So just be careful if you go into a deal on this one.
Oh, yes, I understand. And then I give you my information and
All right. So let me kind of run over a couple of different business scenarios for you guys. So many familiar faces here. A lot of this is going to be stuff that many of you have seen before. But if you are new here, we're only talking probate and estate administration. I want you all to start thinking as business owners. If you're not already thinking like a business owner would, I want you to start thinking like a business owner would and evaluating what your business is costing you, both financially and in time. And based on the budget that you have, you're going to be able to set your business model up accordingly. So I know we're changing gears here just a little bit. But I run into all different kinds of folks that come into this call and get into probate mastery and buy probate leads and things like that. And just people are in different scenarios. So we have folks that just got real estate licensed and they don't have any money. They spent all their money getting licensed and they've got like 3 months of reserves and they don't know when the next deal's closing. Okay. You're cash strapped. Maybe you're a wholesaler, an investor, and you're also cash strapped. Maybe you've done a lot of deals and you're just looking to add that 5 or 10 extra probate deals a month, which is doable if you spend money. So I'm going to kind of run through a few different ways that the real estate business can be run. I am going to describe my way first, and my way is not the way. It's not the best way. It's just the way that I choose to run it. I choose in my market to run my business where I put very little time in before appointments. Very little time before appointments. I don't necessarily do my own cold calls. I don't manage my own mail campaign, although there is a mail campaign running. I don't send my own follow-up packages, although those are going out. I don't even spend my own time buying and scrubbing my leads. So I essentially get involved when there's someone that says, "Hey, you know what? I'm pretty much ready to sell. I'm ready to sell, and I want to meet." So to do that, it cost me somewhere around $23 per lead that I pull in, per cold lead. So I'm in a market where there's an average of, in one county, there's an average of 200 leads a month. So $23 dollars times 200 ends up being $4,600 to run my real estate business the way that I run it in my market. And what happens with that $4,600 in my market is we get the leads, we scrub the leads for real estate, we kick out everybody that does not have a house, that the decedent didn't own the house. We put the ones that the decedent did own the house into 2 buckets. Bucket number 1, decedent owned the house and the personal representative lives somewhere else. Okay. Bucket number 2, decedent owned the house, personal representative lived with them in the house. That's likely, not always, but that's more likely to be a surviving spouse. Okay. The reason that's bucket number 2 is I know it's a lower likelihood of selling soon. If they sell, it's sometimes a little bit further out. A lot of them do sell, but it's just not immediate. So I want to spend most of my time focused on bucket number 1 when I get my lead list. So we're going to spend our time, and I spend my money with ISAs calling through bucket number 1. Once everyone in bucket number 1 has been reached out to 15 times, we switch to bucket number 2. And we usually do that within about a week or 2. So about 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks, about 15 times in 2 weeks, everyone in bucket number 1. And then we spend the last half of the month focused on bucket number 2, trying to identify where the leads are. So many folks that get into probate, and this is going to apply to you even if you don't spend the money to replace your time. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So many people that get into probate make the mistake of calling and saying, "Hey, I see you're in the probate process. I was wondering if you wanted to sell the house." And that's the way that I ran my business for a long time. And it was just me. I was just mailing and doing calls saying, "Hey, I see you're in probate. Do you want to sell the house?" And obviously I had better scripts than that, but that was the gist. And that was good with enough leads. That's good for about a 1% conversion rate on your lead list. Could be a little bit better if as your time goes up on the phone or your skill set increases on the phone. It could be a 3 or 4% conversion rate. I don't do that though. Our approach is we call and we offer guidance through the entire probate process. Kind of think of it like handling probate A to Z with the family. It really warms them up. So what I end up doing is filling up my pipeline. Let's say I get 200 leads. I end up putting 50 or so people, and those of you that know my real numbers know that it's bigger than 50. But let's just say conservatively, out of those 200 leads, I'll put 50 people into my pipeline that we've had a conversation with. They want my information, and I know that there's a house that they have a likelihood of selling. And a lot of times they've actually told me they have a likelihood of selling. So the majority of my effort now goes toward those 50. I don't get involved with the 200. I spend my money to cover the 200, and then I get involved trying to have conversations with the 50 who we've had an initial conversation. There is a house involved. They have asked for our information. Okay. And that's my list. Okay. That's my list. And I have a couple of agents that help me with that. That's another reason why my market costs a little bit of money for every lead that I get in my system, is because I have another agent that's also nurturing those leads along until it's ready for an appointment. Now, a lot of you guys fall off of your chair when you're like, $23 a lead. I have 100 leads in my market and I don't have $2,300 to spend on a program like this. So I want you all to know that you do not have to spend that kind of money. You can spend time. Okay, I do a little bit of everything. I do cold mail, I do cold calls, I buy my list, I scrub my list. I'm calling attorneys. We're spending money on video editing. Kind of David was describing his program a little bit ago, and it's in a way similar to what David does. I kind of replace my time with money most of the time. But if you don't have the money to replace your time with, get on the phone. Okay, so if you're good on the phone, spend a couple hours on the phone every day. If you don't have the time to spend a couple of hours on the phone every day and you don't have the money, here's what I'll encourage you to do. Pick 5 leads per day. 5 leads per day. So you go, I don't have time. I got to drop the kids off. I got to pick the kids up. I got a second job, appointments running all over the place. Bruce, I can't spend hours on the phone every day. 5 leads a day. And your mission that day is to try to get 2 or 3 of them to answer the phone. You're not going to do that with 1 call each person. You're going to do that with probably 3 or 4 calls each person. But that's a way to affordably manage leads. It's just focus on 5 different people each day. Tomorrow, pick 5 new people. The next day, pick 5 new people. Pretty much everyone here can do that. That will generally be good. Doing that approach is generally going to be good if you're consistent and your skill on the phone is moderate. It's generally going to be good for at least a deal a month. At least a deal a month if you have enough leads. So I just want to kind of encourage everyone and tell you that you don't have to exactly copy David's approach. He talked about spending money on attorneys. You don't have to copy David's approach to have success. You don't have to copy Bill Gross's approach to have success, where Bill pursues attorneys and does a lot of podcasts. You don't have to copy my approach, where I hire people to run my operation for me. You don't have to be on the phone for 2 hours every day. Somebody does need to be on the phone. You need to call and have conversations with folks. You could do just mail, cold mail only. Cold mail only, if you're doing a consistent, steady campaign to every single lead, is often worth a solid 0.5% conversion rate. In some markets, it's 2% conversion rate. In David's market, I think it's been a much stronger than that. So there's tons of ways to run this business, and I just want to challenge those of you to pick a path. Pick a path based on your time budget or your financial budget. That's going to be the thing. So look at the time and financial budget that you have first and decide, am I going to spend more time or am I going to spend more money? If it's money, build a plan around it. If it's time, then build a plan around the time. If it's 30 minutes a day, great. You can focus on 3 or 4 or 5 people a day and really focus on them. Really focus on them. You'll get deals. If it's, I don't have the time or I'm afraid of the phone and I have just a little budget, then do cold mail or go call attorneys, right? A lot of ways to build the business. I kind of rambled there for a little bit to sort of get to the top of the hour. Call is officially coming to an end, but I do have room if there's any questions that anybody has. Do I have any questions?
I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for taking my questions. I have a couple. Can
Absolutely.
you say, or just an idea of what it costs for the ISA?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Most ISAs, okay, you gotta be really careful with ISAs. So I'm gonna get to the answer to the question. I've had $3 an hour ISAs that were incredible. I've had $20 an hour ISAs that were awful.
Mhm.
I had $20 an hour ISAs that were amazing and three that were terrible. So you need to really be careful. Today, my general approach is to pay them so little as a base that they can't survive if they're not producing leads, but so much in bonuses that if they're producing leads, they'd never go to anyone else. Okay.
Great idea.
So when an ISA comes over for me, I usually pay them like a nice little 1 month sign up bonus onboarding fee. And this is going to cover training and getting good and role play time. And I'm going to have you call a little bit. And here's, $800 to start. And this is going to be your first month's pay, whether you get any leads or not. And in a month, your base, if you're full time, is going to drop back to something like $300. If you're overseas, okay. If you're in the States, obviously I can't do that little. I guess I could, but it's harder. Okay, so overseas, I might give you $300, and an ISA overseas that's working full time, 300 is not good. But guess what? Every lead that you put into my pipeline, you're gonna get 25 bucks. If you go out and get 50 leads into the pipeline, there's $1,250 more that you just got. Every appointment that you set for me that's kept, I'm going to give you $50. Set 2 appointments for me each month, and those appointments actually keep, there's an extra 100. I'm going to give you $300 for every closing that I get. If I get a closing or 2 closings out of the 50 leads you got me, there's $600 more. So for a skilled ISA that is offshore, that $2,000, $2,500 is amazing pay for them. They wouldn't make that with any agency out there. That $300 is they're mad and they're going to quit within a month if they're not getting leads. Okay, so that's how I do it.
And so do you find them through just do you go through like Fiverr or Freelancer, or like where do you find
So
them?
I like to go either into South Latin America or often the Philippines. Those are the two places
Philippines,
that
yeah.
are a little easier to find because of the platform. So in the Philippines, it's onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph if you want someone in the Philippines. If you want someone in Latin America, I go to remoteco.com. I think it's remoteco.com. So it's remoteco. That might be remote.co. You guys forgive me. Somebody, if you guys want to Google it real quick, it might be remote.co. So that'll be Central and South America. At this point, I have people in Pakistan and Egypt and South Africa and a lot of different places, but it's more because I'm kind of introduced to ISAs frequently. But those are the 2 places that I started, and I'll basically just hire a freelancer, and they're putting what pay they want. Listen, they're going to make way more than the pay that they want if they're on my bonus plan, if they're performing.
Right.
And if they're not performing, then I don't have to fire them. They're going to quit. Okay. But I'm going to give them a little base to at least get started so that there's a little bit.
All right. All right. And my final question is, you said $4,600. That's per month that you spent of your spend per month?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
That's on about 200 leads ish.
Right.
I just know that every lead that I have, raw probate filing, I will spend around $23 in hard cost per lead with my system. I usually also bonus around $6 per lead in bonuses. Now, obviously I'm not bonusing per lead. It's just that by the time I get my closings and appointments and lead that raw list moved into my pipeline and things like that, it's going to end up costing me about $6 extra for every lead. But I don't pay those until there's a deal coming in, those bonuses.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I got one more. So can we say then that your 4,600 is probably the top? If we're like making a budget, right? So that'd be kind of the top. And then whatever we do ourselves, like whatever part of this we can undertake, then that would work against sort of that 4,600.
Yeah,
would that be fair?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I built my model for a lazy agent.
Hey, yeah, I get it. That's me, but the budget might be a little bit hindered initially. So, maybe start smaller and then work up to where you're
There's
at.
a million ways in between to do it, and I will drop this little teaser. David teased it a little bit ago. He said he was doing my partnership program. Partnership program for anyone interested in looking at your market to see if you're a partner. You would need to book a discovery call to determine this, but and the $23 is real hard cost. That's not fluff. If I go into someone's market and work my system with them, I usually charge the partner $10 per lead that we're working together. I cover 13 plus the bonuses, but I'm also going to take a referral fee on all the deals that we find. So for people that want a system like mine and they don't want to spend $23 for every single lead, they can do about $10 a lead. And it kind of works on a sliding scale. So really small number of leads end up being like $13 a lead. Big numbers a lead end up being less than 10. So we look at the average number of leads that you have, and it kind of averages out to about $10 for every lead. And then I cover 13 of it, you cover 10, and then we do a referral, like a commission split, favorable to the agent on the back end.
Cool. So do we just contact you about that, or how does that work?
Yeah. Let me pull up. Is Lou on here? Lou, you still here? Queenie, do you have Lou's discovery call link? If you go to Probate Mastery, Lou is sick, so he started the call, and then I think he dipped out because he was sick. If you go to probatemastery.com, one way to get there is to drop down, instead of signing up for the certification, you go down below the fold. So you scroll down the page just a little tiny bit and you book a free discovery call. So book a free discovery call, and that will that'll get you all the extra information on the program. Sarah.
Awesome.
I dropped the link on the chat.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yep. All right. So Sarah dropped the link on chat. I must be looking at the wrong one. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And I see Queenie did as well. So you guys have two links, take you to the same place. That'll put you on Lou's calendar. And then and I want everyone to know that there's just so many ways to be successful in probate. You absolutely do not need to use the way or even partner with me. This is my 5th or 6th iteration, and all the others worked. I just try new things. And this is the one that I kind of like for my own business. And if you guys want to check it out and like it, then we could team up. All right. Good deal. Well, appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys so much. If anyone has any other questions, now or never, I got to jump on a role play call here in 4 minutes.
Bruce, I have a quick question.
Yeah, Heather.
Hi, Heather from Miami. The $23 per lead you mentioned, that kind of was leading up to the conversation of all the leverage you have, which is calls, mailers, and sending out packages. Mm-hmm. Does that $23 cover all of that, or strictly the list plus the ISA?
It covers the list, the ISA, the VA that scrubs the leads to kick out anyone without real estate. It covers the ISA. It covers the ISA's bonuses, not all their bonuses, but their lead generation bonuses. It covers the cold mail if someone hasn't answered, and it covers packages. It also covers dialers and things like that I run. And then I'm on an average month, I'm gonna spend an extra $2,400 in bonuses, but only on closings. So I'm
Okay.
only doing the $2,400 on 200 leads out after closings have happened.
Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
All right. Okay, guys. The $23 is generally paid out while we're working the lead. I don't pay all of it, so I put every lead that we put in the pipeline. They're going to go on about a 4-month mail sequence with packages. And so some of that $23 gets paid out over the 4 months. So it doesn't all go out the door instantly, but for every new lead I get in, I know that I'm going to spend an average of $23 on them by the time I've fully implemented my system on that lead file. Average monthly ROI is gonna be in the range. Okay, and this is a really good question. So I've run the ROI really good for partners. So the majority of partners are going to be around 700% ROI if they're converting at 15% of the leads that we put in, which is a relatively small conversion rate. So it could be 1400 X ROI or 1400% ROI if you're converting at 30%, which I have a few people that I've coached that convert this system at about 30%, but not everybody. All right, cool. And my ROI is a little bit higher than that because I'll convert at 30% and I don't have to share the commission with anyone. So when I'm running it with you, I'm going to take a little bit of the commission, which lowers it a little bit lower than mine's going to be. All right. Thank you guys so much. I kept talking and I've got to go. I've got a role play call I got to do with our coaching partners. So I'll catch you guys very, very soon.